May we have everybody take their seats, please? We're going to start our ceremony shortly. Before we start our program, I'd like for everybody to stand and remember Chief Richard Guthrie, police chief of Brattleboro, who died last year. He was a great man who touched everybody's heart, always a smile on his face. And thank you, Mr. Guthrie, for helping us with the St. Michael's School for bringing the children here. Thank you very much. Let's have a moment of silence for Police Chief Richard Guthrie. Thank you. May I have VFW Chaplain David Wright come to the podium, please, for the invocation.
Almighty God, Father of us all, we, your servants, turn to you for continuance of your blessings upon us. You who spared us veterans from the grasp of our enemies, grant us the full understanding of your precious comfort. We thank you for the privileges of life and the blessings we enjoy through our graciousness in our country, the land in which we are given the freedom of speech, religion, and the pursuit of happiness. Assist us to know you better and the wisdom to acknowledge you as the God of the universe and our ideal. In your mercy may we find our peace. Grant us from above this day the challenge of high endeavor and beauty of humble spirit and strong courage, and without exertion to continue to glorify you, to praise you, and to love you to the end of time. Amen.
Thank you, David. You may be seated. The American Legion is going to start with the Stars and Stripes. Will all of you join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag?
Color Gaurd, face and halt!
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color Gaurd.
Color Guard will retire to the outer room, please.
Color Gaurd. Color Gaurd. Face, halt.
Oh, stop.
As you were.
All right, the band will play the national anthem, sorry.
Color Gaurd, face and halt!
Color Guard may retire to the outer room, please.
Color Gaurd, left, face. Mark time, halt! Forward, halt! Down left, halt! Come left, halt!
May be seated. Combat Commander Mark Truian, would you come up here, please? Oh, yeah? There are a lot of commanders around here. Who are you? Back up. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out this morning. On the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, to commemorate the armistice where the guns fell silent on the Western Front of Germany and France in 1918. My name is Mark Truian. I am the commander of Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1034, and it has always been an honor to see so many fine people coming out to recognize and to remember what the veteran community is all about. We have quite an agenda today with a number of speakers, so I've always praised brevity when it comes to speaking because you can get running away with a few words. But it encourages me to see so many people supporting our veterans here today and in the community. So without ado, I am going to pass the microphone back to our Master of Ceremonies. I want to thank Mike Cuomo and his wife Pat for helping put this together. I imagine it's TSA, or WTSA and Brattleboro Television. Thank you, good people, for coming today to commemorate it. And I will let Mike continue. Thank you very much and enjoy yourselves.
We will now have past, present, and ladies auxiliary. Patricia Como, she's going to read Honoring Our Veterans.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you to all veterans. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, World War I ended in 1918. This was the war to end all wars. Well, we all know that this did not happen. World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Panama, Lebanon, Desert Storm, and Iraq all called upon a new group of patriots to answer their nation's call to arms and to defend our liberty. Veterans Day is a day to remember all veterans, both living and dead, and their sacrifices. Veterans Day should not be a day of sadness, but a time of pride and reflection on what veterans have accomplished and the freedoms they have protected. Take a look into the eyes of a veteran standing near as he remembers his fallen buddies. He sheds a silent tear. His eyes show the feeling of the memories he holds, but it's only one story. There's so many left untold. I'm sure each veteran has a story which they will never tell about. The days they spent at war and their nights a living hell. They have stories about their buddies who never made it home. Dreams that haunt them sometimes from the battlefields they roamed. If you look into the eyes of a veteran here today and tell them you appreciate whatever he has to say, then listen closely to his tale, for it will come from the heart, through pain, grief, and sorrow. This veteran did his part. These veterans are our heroes, for they have kept our country free, and they should be honored every day. This I truly believe. A brotherhood of veterans, always standing side by side, who serve their time of duty with dignity and pride. Veterans' motto, honor the dead by helping the living, is especially appropriate for Veterans Day. Volunteering to help others less fortunate, passing along history lessons firsthand to school children, and improving the quality of life for active duty troops are just some of the activities that veterans perform to illustrate that phase. So remember, each time we see someone who has served our country, just lean over and say, thank you. That's all most people need, and in most cases, it will mean more than any medals they could have received or were awarded. 2 little words mean a lot. Thank you. We personally salute you, for we are a grateful nation, and we appreciate all your sacrifices. May God bless our veterans, and may God keep them in his loving care, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. That was very well done. Thank you. We will now have the American Legion Post 5 band play the Armed Forces Salute. When your service is called, would you please stand up and salute back? that were. We will now do the recognition of guests. I'll start with the VFW Post Commander, 1034, Mark Truhan. VFW 1034, Auxiliary President, Rosemary Hazelton. American Legion Post 5 Commander, Don Long. American Legion Post 5 Unit 5 President, Judy Duchesne. SAL Commander, Spencer Bristol. Marine Corps League 798 Commandant, Scott Larrabee. Marine Corps Auxiliary President, Stephanie Larrabee. Sorry about that, Jackson. Ex-President of War, Chapter 1, Vermont, Commander Richard Hamilton. BVA Tri-State Chapter 843 President Leonard Derby. Lone Star Mothers Association, Regina Meckel. American Legion Post 5 Band, Bill Wessel. Thank you for bringing your band. And thank all of you for coming today. Brattleboro Fire Department, Chief Michael Bukasi. Thank you guys for coming today, and thanks for protecting us. Brattleboro Police Department, Chief Michael Fitzgerald. Thanks for coming. Brattleboro Town Manager, I understand I got this wrong, but it's Patrick Moreland? No.
Assistant.
He's, Elwell. Sorry about that. Anyway, we'll recognize the Town Manager's department. Deputy TSA, Tim Johnson. World War II cryptologist. She helped break the German code in World War II, Denise Ashworth. Civil War and Vietnam Program Director. He did a great job on the Civil War, and I'm sure he's going to do a good job on the Vietnam Program the 21st of November. Thomas Costello. Brattleboro Emblem Club, Diane Pennell. GAB Auxiliary Vice Commander, Dot Valaire. Maternal War Eagles, 2445, Auxiliary President, Angela Watson. Rescue Incorporated Chief of Operations, Drew Hamilton. Did I get that wrong too? Rescue, would you stand up? Nobody? Oh, that's too bad. Great organization. St. Michael's School Principal and students, Elaine Bean. St. Michael's Pastor, Father Dodson. The former editor, Robert Audette, and the photographer today is Chris Radner. Thank you, Chris, for coming. Yellow Ribbon Organization, Vicki Nadeau. We have a gentleman that traveled all the way from Newport, Rhode Island, Chief Richard, oh, wrong one. Where did I put it? I knew I should have my glasses on. Navy Chief Petty Officer Blaine Coughlin from Newfane, Vermont. 11 years in the Navy, served in local service Japan for 10 years on aircraft carriers, the USS Kitty Hawk, the USS George Washington, and forward destroyer USS Mason. Currently stationed in Newport, Rhode Island with his wife Yuku, working at the Surface Warfare Officer School Command. Thank you for coming today. Always better to get him out of my way. We have a gentleman from Bernie Sanders' office, Alex Craven. He wants to come up and read an article from Bernie Sanders. Alex, would you come up, please?
Hi, my name is Alex Craven. I'm an outreach representative for Senator Sanders' office. The senator couldn't be here today, but did want to make sure that I'd read a letter on his behalf at today's event. Dear friends, thank you for the invitation to attend today's Veterans Day commemoration here at Brattleboro Post 1034.
Can't hear you. Get a little louder.
All right, can do. I regret that my schedule prevents me from being able to join you for this special occasion. I want to thank all the veterans and their families here today. Vermonters have a long, proud history of military service dating back to the Green Mountain Boys and continuing through today. We owe you a debt of gratitude for your service and personal sacrifice to our country. I especially want to recognize World War II veterans as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of the end of that war. More than 50,000 Vermonters fought in World War II, and more than 1,200 gave their lives. Let us never forget their sacrifices. I also want to thank Commander Truman and Commander Como for organizing today's event. Vermont veterans are fortunate to have strong support from local branches of service organizations to the many VA facilities throughout Vermont. Veterans from every corner of our state have a place to go when they need care or services. As the former chair and longtime member of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, I am honored to work every day to keep our country's promises to veterans and their families. Whatever the political or fiscal climate in Washington, I remain steadfastly committed to improving VA. To my mind, every day should be Veterans Day, by honoring the men and women who have worn our country's uniform, by ensuring that they have every benefit they have earned in service to our country. Thank you for the opportunity to share my gratitude for the veterans and their families here today. Sincerely, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, Alex. Color Guard Captain Herb Myers, would you please escort Lieutenant Colonel Christie Turner to the podium, please?
I'm organized, you can see it.
I'm organized, you can see that. Lieutenant Colonel retired Christie Turner and her husband have a long-time commitment to this area as owners and operators of Turner and Renaud of Dummerston for the past 28 years. But Lieutenant Christie's commitment to the Army Reserve is even longer. With over 30 years served and until recently belonged to United European Command based in Stuttgart, Germany. There, Lieutenant Christie worked as a strategic level 51 with 51 countries, including EUCOM's area of operations. For deployment in early 2013, however, Lieutenant Turner was assigned to U.S. Central Command, which covers over 20 countries, including Iraq and Afghanistan. She received her orders at the end of December 2012 and departed for training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, less than 3 weeks later. Lieutenant Turner had a deployment and was stationed at New Cabal compound as a logistic officer for ARSEN, 3rd Army, Patton Zone. So I'd like at this time to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Turner, Christie Turner, as your guest speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm actually very excited to see this room as full as it is. So I personally want to thank everyone for being here. I've got some of my friends over there in the back who first time here, I'm sure, in the VFW, and it's very nice to see it extend out to that far. So thank you very much. Your mom too. And my sister, my husband. Okay, better stop. All right. I'm deeply honored to be standing here before you on a day as Brattleboro community we reunite to express our gratitude to those who have served with the United States military. To those before me who wore the uniform and willingly have gone where the Commander-in-Chief has asked them to serve, I thank you for your service to our great nation, more specifically towards keeping our citizens safe. Behind every veteran is a family. To you, I tip my hat for all you've endured in default of not having your service member home. So Brattleboro, please join me now in an enthusiastic round of applause and thanks to our veterans and their families for their unselfish services and profound sacrifices. Okay, now sit back and relax. We have about 15 minutes to stay here with me. All right, so get comfortable. I vowed that if I got out of Afghanistan alive, I would tell the stories of the young men and women who served in Afghanistan. I want to help bring awareness to local communities of what it means to have served in combat to return home. For a soldier just home from a year in a war zone, even a trip to the grocery store is special. That's why when I returned from Afghanistan, I found myself profoundly moved when my husband Godfrey drove me to Price Chopper. I'm in the aisles and he sees this tear coming down my face. And he says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm overjoyed. I'm so overjoyed I cannot believe all these choices." Or I getting off the plane with my colleagues, and each of us with deliberate exaggeration to expanding our lungs into full breath. "Ah, clean air," we said. "How nice to be home to America and breathe clean, fresh air." We all burst into a bit of laughter as we realized what we just said. We just complimented New Jersey for its clean air. I will always remember that moment, for it was a threshold to a life where laughter is an allowable luxury, and danger does not lurk around every corner. Now, how great is life if you can be happy in the Brattleboro Price Chopper to the point of joyful tears, or think that New Jersey has the best air in the world. Having finished my deployment as a logistics officer, I resumed my life as a mother, wife, and a small business owner. Things are pretty much the same as I left them at home in the hills of Dummerston, but I consider myself a changed person. More humble, more appreciative of the simple blessings. That being said, I am in high regard that the stork did not drop me off in Afghanistan. Afghans lived in conditions of poor, with thought of only to survive, almost barbaric. Little regard given towards family as we would see it. One of the most striking qualities of the Afghan people is their toughness and resilience. They live to be about 45, maybe 50. A culture I witnessed, and with infinite exposure, would probably never be able to comprehend. Now, it was a 12-day journey from Fort Dix, New Jersey to my station at New Kabul compound in Afghanistan. I didn't go over with a brigade, and I didn't go over with a battalion. I didn't go over with a company. I went over as an individual. As a lieutenant colonel, they just looked at my skill set, and they said, "We could use you over here." I said, "Great, I'm there." I traveled solo and remember the trip well. I liked the freedom of moving around, figuring out how to get from bus, plane, helicopter, place to place. Now the real challenge was asking a complete stranger at odd hours each night or early morning to help me carry one of my 4 duffel bags, and I packed light. I took a genuine interest in people, listening to their experiences, some who had arrived recently like myself, and others nearing the end of their tours, or leaving or coming back from R&R. Either way, excited about reunion with family. On my blog, about one stop the road is hell. That was Bagram Air Base. a spot where 2 days earlier aircraft were damaged on the very runway I landed. And while there, I had one day of indirect fire close to where I was staying. I was sleeping in a structure built to resemble what I affectionately called the shack. And I was being nice. Not saying indirect fire bothered me. What did bother me was not being able to tell who was friendly and who hated you. Ironically, they all carry a gun. Now, in Kabul, Afghanistan, my job was ownership of equipment and dispositioning it down to the brigades. This was an important job featuring what some might see as conflicting duties. So I was asked to task with equipping troops coming into theater while also fulfilling the mandate to downsize U.S. forces. This was a highly visible requirement that took interest to the generals, of whom I briefed on a weekly basis towards status of downsizing. And accomplishing to move the people was easy, moving the equipment not so much. This mission was important enough to draw attention for Chuck Hagel and Dan Rather to visit and interview my generals, to better explain to the American people our requirements to retrograde out of Afghanistan. For me, the mission was balancing a balance act between ensuring that the soldiers had exactly what they needed, but weren't bringing in excess equipment. The logistics in Afghanistan is like getting your doctorate, because you're working in a landlocked country the size of Texas, with one road network, one mountain pass into Pakistan, an extremely challenging topography of 26,000-foot elevation between airbase platforms. And you have to retrograde out of Afghanistan, and you had to do it in a time limit. So we had a little motto, we can and we will, and that's the motto we lived in order to meet the logistical commands. Now, I think being in Afghanistan has afforded me some very, very worthy life lessons. I know it's important now. I know it's not important now. Absolutely, I feel like a better person for that experience. In Kabul, Afghanistan, working conditions, as befitting a war zone, were tight and harsh. I slept 150 steps from where I worked in a fortified building in a small compound, a little bigger than the high school track. The embassy, we had ISAF International Security Assistance Force down the street, a couple miles that way, and we had NATO and IJC headquarters down the road a little bit this way, and we had the embassy right across the street. Now, we believed the embassy was more susceptible as a target, we often joked, of only getting hit resulting in the insurgents batting it. Well, one time that did happen. We did. We were on a video teleconference with some very important people in Washington, D.C. That's code for the Pentagon. And an IED went off outside our wall and fiercely shook the building. The room went silent. We said nothing. And instantly we rushed out of the conference room. I remember departing the conference room and watching our colleagues on the other end of the video teleconference in D.C. looking stunned and baffled as to why would we abruptly leave such a formal briefing where we never asked to explain, so we assumed they got the proper information. I knew the situation was much worse out those walls. If I was just doing my job in the office in that fortified building, it was relatively safe. As soon as you walked outside, you don't know if an Afghan is going to shoot you. You don't know if an IED is going to go off. You don't know anything. I did travel outside in what's called battlefield circulation, and I can recall the intensity of the travel in the aircraft or in the military convoys. Sitting in Dummerston with the birds chirping outside and the farming fields occupying most of our horizon, it's very difficult to imagine combat. This uniform that I wore in Afghanistan says it all. You have a tourniquet on your right arm, and you put it in your leg pocket. There's a study. We read it. It does not, it goes on the right arm. Legs are more likely to be blasted off. That's why it goes on the right arm. Now, on my other sleeve, I had a gold print with my blood type. And there's a reason to have all that. Because every time you go outside the gate, you're susceptible, and it only takes 3 minutes to bleed out. Now, a war zone puts tribute to instinct to staying alive. That means not trusting people, being vigilant every day. More importantly, a profound realization that life is extremely fragile. It locks you into an intense survival mode that cannot easily be shed simply by your return date home. When I was out processing at war digs, I was told it'll take 3 to 6 months to adjust back home. And I thought, no way. What's the big deal? Nobody's shooting at you. How naive. I worked 7 days a week with long hours and found my work in Afghanistan challenging but exciting. Put simply, I loved my job. But I also loved my husband, my children, my home, and a year spent far away with only a short trip back to the States during deployment was difficult. While technology has greatly improved the ability of soldiers to connect with their loved ones, logistics still hinder attempts to have meaningful conversations with those back home. You can only get these little tidbits of information, but you have no chance of influencing them. You don't have time, and all you're thinking about is how to survive, how to get home safe to your family. Well, I remember one time, Godfrey and I, it took us 3 weeks to continue and finish one conversation. And we were so frustrated in the interim that we actually stopped for a couple of days because it was so difficult. The fortunate event is my writing skills have increased, thus they're improved. I'm most thankful for my own family. Now, having been reunited with those I loved, some weren't as lucky, giving me transparency to a deeper appreciation for the struggles and the endurance of military families. It's a true hardship on the families that are left behind. It's really challenging, and that, I think, was the hardest thing for me to see. Seeing the hardship my family had to endure is more than people can ever realize. Now, at precise time in Kabul, Afghanistan, I braced myself for death. I vowed that if I got out of Afghanistan alive, I would tell the stories of all the young military men and women who have served in Afghanistan. Well, here I am. Thank you. I'm a retired, just one second. Thank you. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, and I've loved my military service despite all of its challenges. I would do it all again without question. It has been an honor. But I also enjoy my life as a wife, mother, and businesswoman, so I'm happy to retire with 31 years and return home here into Vermont. But I cannot walk away from the military completely. I don't think any veteran can. But I do have a new job to do. I have stories to tell and people to help. I want the mothers and fathers of our soldiers to know what their children did and do in the service of their country. I want the people with no connection to the service or a person to hear the stories and think about what we as a nation demand of our military services. I want everyone to fall in love with and take care of the men and women in uniform who come home and become invisible when they try to merge back into life here in the USA. Now, while some are worrying about the most mundane things, some service members are struggling to find their way in a totally unfamiliar world right here. Now, the U.S. is more foreign to them than Iraq or Afghanistan was when they were deployed. They no longer need all that adrenaline coursing through their bodies, but how do you shut it off? I believe I have a mission to bring their stories and their perspectives home to a nation where very few people have direct connection to military personnel. Yet Afghanistan is the longest war in American history. How can we, the people here, know what these soldiers need and want? How can they understand how hard it is to re-enter? Now, our families are direct beneficiaries to hardship during our deployment and upon our return. It was 2 months before I felt comfortable with my extended family after leaving the Warrior Transition Unit, and 4 more months before I could tolerate a gathering of friends. I still at times find it hard to be in a group of people for the quiet safety of aloneness. I know that's hard for some to believe. But noise is difficult, and the difficulties can be as simple as an unexpected noise, slamming a door, clanking pots and pans, or sometimes even some loud sneezes. This is very different to my behavior before I left for Afghanistan. Slowly I'm acclimating, but for men and women who saw more fight, who bore mental and physical pain over multiple tours, the re-entry is almost beyond my comprehension. If these stories can help one family understand more about their son's plight, or one person appreciate the need of the military woman who returned to her small rural community town with limited support services available, then I have accomplished my mission. So here's some of their stories. Major Anderson arriving to NATO headquarters to help me brief General Stein, finding himself in the midst of indirect fire, not knowing if he would make it to the brief. Well, we did. We still pulled off the brief with acolytes from the general, and we lived to tell about it. A close colleague of mine worked with a couple deploying. The husband just finished his tour from Afghanistan and was going home to take care of the 10-month-old baby, and the wife was starting her tour in Afghanistan. She would collect her breast milk and ship it home to the baby. She was killed in an aircraft crash, and for weeks no one wanted to open the refrigerator. It was too painful to see the bottle of milk. Well, 4 of our soldiers at Bagram standing at a bus stop were killed from an incoming round. A cloud of black smoke in the distance from a car bomb exploding at the presidential palace. Our meal interrupted for need to turning our small dining facility into a triage. No one arrived. There was no survivors. Now, these people proudly wear the uniform and go wherever our commander-in-chief tells them to go. They're in Afghanistan working on the forward operating bases or bigger logistical platforms like Bagram. Now, working on the FOBs or an air base, they're exposed to indirect fire and random bomb explosions in the streets of Kabul. These dangers were not a daily occurrence, but they never knew if it would be their unlucky day. We all have stories of people killed. In war, there is no unwounded. I may not remember the names of every soldier on my drive team, but I will never forget their faces. I am, humbled by their service. My drive team would take me from NKC to NATO headquarters to ISAF for meetings. And in Kabul, I'd often compare these soldiers were doing for me, their boss, to what their peers back home were doing for their bosses. These soldiers were protecting me through the streets of Kabul during the fighting season. They were offering their lives for my protection. Afghanistan has one season up on the New England states, the fighting season. Now, believe me, we dressed properly for this season. We wore our 35-pound personal protective gear, and we had to become even more vigilant to increasing dangers in every corner. The fighting season begins with the announcements, how nice, from our insurgents and ends with the same way. So it's from April to October when the weather is tolerable for the Afghans to fight. The drive team would do whatever it took to get me safely to where I had to be. So 24/7, 365, we had to be vigilant, even at rest, even when relaxing. The adrenaline was humming in our systems, preparing us to either fight or flee. In April, at the onset of the fighting season, I found my drive car flanked on 3 sides by armored vehicles as we rounded the Massoud Circle. In a rotary, they needed to prepare for an attack from the right side of the car. Today, the drive team had a different protocol in place. In a response to a small collision with a white truck that took place earlier on their way to NATO headquarters to pick me up, intelligence channels were reporting that a truck of that description was carrying explosives. It was a silent ride back to NKC, and a starkly different mood from previous trips. Now, being on the streets is dangerous. I was so proud of these young soldiers who trained to be there. They did not falter, and they always did their job they were asked to do. What I remember most that day is the faith I had in their abilities. They knew their mission. They were well trained. They were good at what they did. And on this one day, when a small collision might have turned into a disaster had that white truck and a bomb on wheels, they were strong in the face of danger that were as pervasive as the air. We were all on high alert, but they bore the burden of protecting me. I started to take notice of these young soldiers. They were far from their homes and families, far from their familiar surroundings, living in a place so foreign in every way, just to protect our nation. I came to realize that the demands we made on these young people, our expectations of them, were very different from what we expected from their peers at home. They are prodigies at being diligent and surviving away from family support and making it on their own. They aren't partying here. They have wisdom beyond their years to share. They have something to say. They can contribute significantly to their communities. But are we listening? Are we folding them back into non-combat environments? I wouldn't really know the answer to those questions until I got back myself. And now I can resoundingly say, we can do better. We can do better. Let's start by having our local community recognize Veterans Day. So in closing, I'm glad you offered your attendance today and found it tolerable enough to have met the challenge to sit and listen patiently to my stories. All soldiers and their families deserve our love and support from any past or present conflict served. And Veterans Day is a time to offer reflection to such thoughts. Please join me today and all future Veterans Day in supporting our most valuable resources, our sons and daughters who proudly wear the uniform and volunteer to serve our country in parts of the world our Commander-in-Chief has asked them to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Christie. My wife Pat, my co-chairman, without her I couldn't do this. So I thank you very much. Anyway, you're going to read about veterans.
Thank you, and thank you for serving. Yes, we were kind of surprised last night. I'll make it quick, but when we came in to do a little decorating, one of our teachers from the Meadow School, grade 3, 4, 5, and 6, they're beautiful children. They're a little challenged. God bless them. They have a little hard time sometimes, she said. But she started to teach about Veterans Day, and she read them a book. And it really got them going, and they were asking her a lot of questions. And they are challenged, but they're very smart children. It's just hard for them to get things out. So each one of the children, after they went through everything, they decided they wanted to write something to our veterans. So each line of a different color is from a child. I'm going to read the name and what they wrote. And this comes from the bottom of their heart to our veterans, and they were so excited to do this. The first one is from Brandon. It says, "Dear veterans, thank you for saving our country." Connor is, "We appreciate you sacrificing your lives for us." Then we have Sean. "We honor your love to protect our country." And finally, we have Bella. "Thank you for all you've done and continue to do for our community." This just struck my heart, and I'm sure it has yours. So we're going to make sure that they get a nice card from us, and we're going to send them some flags. They were very pleased. The teacher had in class today, so she could not be with us. But thank you. I think this is the way it should be. We should get our young children involved. They're our future. And thank you to our teacher, Beth Wells. And I don't know who William is, but I think he might be the principal or whoever helps her. So thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. The band will now play music of their choice. Post 5 band. And I forgot to recognize Mr. Ray Brown. Stand up, please. The director of the Post 5 band, Ray Brown. We will now hear from Tim Johnson. He's going to sing God Bless America. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That was beautiful. Please remain standing. Should I have Post 5 Chaplain E. David Wright to the podium, please?
O God of hosts, we bow our heads in thankfulness for the victories thou hast granted us. To us and to those peoples who have united with us to stamp out the evils of aggression, intolerance, and greed. We beseech thee to bring the blessings of understanding to the families and friends in this and other lands of those who have given their lives that men may be free. Grant, O God, that those closest to the fallen may mingle in the pain of their losses and enabling light of sacrifice for civilization, sacrifice for a better world for this and other generations yet unborn. Grant us too, O God, the courage to live with the family of nations around the world that end the strife and the beginning of enduring peace. Grant us patience in planning with our fellow men and women a world in which nations may resolve their differences by peaceful means. Touch thou the souls of the people in every land with the enduring light of wisdom, so that they may form a brotherhood which will strive to further the arts of peace and under the laws and ethics blessed by thy love. Grant us now the continuing blessing upon unity and strength that makes victories possible in war, that we may win greater victories of peace. Amen.
Thank you, David. Stay standing while we retrieve the colors and the band plays It's a Grand Old Flag.
Mark,
Park. Right, hey! Prepare to retreat to Color. Retreat. Left, hey! Mark time, park!
Before I lose your attention, we're going to let the Legion Band, St. Michael's School, Police Department, Fire Department, all eat first because they have places to go. And then we'll let everybody else. But thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Without you, we're nothing here. So we need all of you all the time. Thank you for the veterans for serving for us and the families for supporting them. And have a great day. Thank you for attending our veteran service.
Well, yes, you do. I'll get you later. Okay, see ya. And you're a Korean War vet. Yes, sir. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service in the Korean War.
I didn't have a bad time. I had a good place.
I'm glad you're here, sir. Thank you.